Hey everyone, so I had some requests to show you how I prep some spaghetti squash. So there are two ways that you can do this. If you're in a pinch for time, you can either do this in the microwave or you can do it in the oven. I feel like the flavors tend to come out of the spaghetti squash and it tastes a little bit different if you do it in the oven, but just as good in the microwave as well. So if you do this in the microwave, you're pretty much going to follow the same steps that I'm going to go through with you as far as cutting it open, removing the seeds. But instead of putting it on a baking sheet and putting it in the oven, you are going to use like a deep glass dish, put about 1/4 of a cup of water in the bottom of the dish, and then you basically just put both halves of the spaghetti squash in the dish upside down, so face down. So the part that you've cut open, you're going to put face down. I'll show you that in just a minute. But first thing I like to do is I like to cut this end off just to get rid of it. It also gives me a nice flat side that I can set it down on when I'm cutting this thing open. You're going to need a really sharp knife, so be careful not to chop any fingers off, and I'll try to do the same. So I'm going to go ahead and angle this down so you can see. Okay, so again, I like to cut off this end first, and as you can see, it's pretty tough to cut through. Sometimes I actually say, honey, and I have my husband come in and cut this part for me. So we'll see if I can actually cut it without him today. Okay, not bad. Usually comes off a little easier. So again, now that it's nice and flat, you can go ahead and cut this open. I also did wash the spaghetti squash off before I started. Okay. Okay. Again, these are pretty tough to cut through, so if you can just kind of get the knife in there to start off with. I'm going to actually cut this end off too, because this one is just being difficult. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to basically cut it in half. Make sure your fingers are not anywhere in there, because again, this is pretty tough to slice through. Okay. So you have two pieces like this. So what I'll do next is I'll take a spoon and I will scrape out the seeds from the inside. So almost like you're working with a pumpkin, and it kind of smells to me like pumpkin a little bit when I've got it raw like this. So just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm just taking the spoon and I'm scraping the guts out. The guts, that's such an appetizing way to describe what I'm doing, but it's kind of what I'm doing, so. Okay, while I'm doing this, I also have the oven preheating at 375, so depending on your oven temp, you're going to want to do maybe 375, 365. I'm assuming y'all know your ovens better than I do, so. You can see the seeds come out pretty easily. Okay, so now we're good to go. I'm going to move this knife out of the way. So you've got two pieces like this. So what I like to do if I'm doing this in the oven, you can either use a brush and brush on some olive oil, or you can spray some on like this. I'm just going to do a light spray because I don't want a whole lot of olive oil. Okay, that's plenty for me because I, again, don't want a lot of fat added to this meal. From there, you can take some sea salt or some pink Himalayan salt. I like fresh ground pepper. And here the oven's ready. I have also in the past also put garlic powder on these as well. So I mean, feel free to play with it. Okay, so if I were to do this in the microwave, what I would do is find a dish like this. If I wanted to do both pieces at the same time, I would obviously need a larger dish, but you put about 1/4 cup of water in the dish, and you're gonna stick, and I don't wanna dirty the dish, so you'd stick this in face down like this. And then from there, it's pretty easy. You microwave on high for about 12 minutes. And you're gonna wanna let it cool before you try messing with it because these are gonna be very hot to the touch when they're done. So we're doing this in the oven today. So are you guys ready for this? You wanna see how simple this is? Take both pieces, put them down on the baking sheet face down. From there, you're gonna let it bake for about 40 minutes. I just recommend checking on them, and periodically you can poke a fork in the actual skin of this. And if it feels tender when you stick the fork through it, then it's pretty much done. So we will check on these in about 40 minutes. And I'll show y'all how they turn out. Set my timer for 40 minutes. Okay, so I will check back with you guys in a little bit. Okay, so the timer just went off. We are just gonna check our spaghetti squash. So it is pretty tender. I think I'm gonna call it done. So you can see it kind of browned a little bit closer to the pan. So it looks awesome. So while that is cooling off, I am actually making my husband some pasta noodles because he probably won't do the spaghetti squash. So I've got that going. Let me take you guys off so that you can see what I'm doing. So I've also got, see if I can do this without dropping my iPhone in the food. So I've got some lean ground turkey that I've browned up, and then I just added this marinara sauce that I really love. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. Let me just give this a quick stir. Put you guys back on the tripod. Ooh. Okay, so one of my favorite marinaras to use, I get it at either Whole Foods or at Natural Grocers. So if you have a place similar to that, you might be able to find it. It is Monte Bene, and it is their spicy marinara. I love it because it doesn't really have a whole lot added to it. For a 1/2 cup serving, it's 40 calories. Usually if you look at a lot of spaghetti sauces, you'll see that they have upwards of 70 calories or more per serving per 1/2 cup. And that's usually because of all the added sugar. Sometimes they have added fats. The ingredient list on this is pretty simple. Tomatoes, I can't even talk. Tomatoes, imported Italian San Marzano tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, salt, basil, crushed red pepper, white pepper, and black pepper. So that's it. That's all that's in it. And then the olive oil that's in it's not a very high amount. It's only got 1.5 grams of fat per 1/2 cup serving. So really recommend this stuff. It's Monte Bene Farm Fresh. I'll show you guys the label again. So Definitely a must for me. Okay, I'm going to check back with you guys in a minute because I don't want you to have to watch me stir everything. It's kind of boring. So once the spaghetti squash cools, I'll show you how I fluff it with a fork. So see you guys in a little bit. Okay, I am back. I have let this cool just about as long as I am going to. For those of you that don't know, I am the impatient cook. So this is really hot still. But as you can see, it did slightly brown. So one cool thing that you can do with this is plop in your ground turkey and marinara sauce, sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, and then plop it back in the oven until the cheese browns, and serve it up kind of as a spaghetti boat. The other thing you do, and I would recommend doing this step before you pile the ground turkey in it, but I am just basically going with a fork, ooh, hot, and I am scraping the inside. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Try to do this back here so you guys can see. I just like to scrape as much as I can out of it, just so you can see the texture is kind of like little noodles, so hence the name spaghetti squash. If I'm not serving this as a boat style dish, what I'll do is I'll just plop this onto my plate and then serve it all up, and then I'll usually do up some sort of green vegetable with dinner as well. So there you have it, pretty simple. Again, you can play with the seasonings on these. Oh, if you're looking for a pretty good pasta as well, because I told you I was cooking up some pasta for my husband. I get this kind from Costco. I get a lot of stuff from Costco. It's Garofalo, and it is an organic whole wheat spaghetti, and we like it. One thing that I like every time I open these is, and when I'm boiling them, I can smell it too. It kind of has a cinnamon smell to it. Although I don't think I've seen cinnamon on the ingredients, but it kind of has a cinnamon aroma. So anyways, that is my spaghetti squash tutorial. So if you like the video, please comment below. Also share, feel free to share this video with other people that you think might find this useful, so that I know that I need to keep making videos like this. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.